Alright, today is the Dewey Readathon, which is a 24-hour succession in time where a bunch of people say, alright, I'm going to be reading during these 24 hours. Pretty much people who are going to be reading anyway. You don't read the entire 24 hours, that would be crazy. But even if you read just like 15 minutes, you're a participant. There are Instagram challenges that I think are every hour, and I never do them because I'm not very good at Instagram photos. The idea of like curating a photo for Bookstagram is just very stressful to me. I'm not good at it and I don't want to. So I won't. So instead I'm gonna make a vlog. Because if there's one thing I'm good at, it's running this mouth. It is 11:24. The readathon started 3+ hours ago. I was asleep. I had the best intentions of getting up at 8 and starting on time and just maybe then I would go to the gym or something. But I went out to a show last night and just, in all honesty, I probably would have overslept anyway. I'm very much not a morning person. So none of this is a surprise. This is now when I'm starting. But I have 24 hours. So let's get this read. My book that I'm going to be starting with is by Sion. It's called The Whispering Muse. It is endorsed by Bjork. That's all I need in a book to know that I'm probably going to enjoy it. She says, when I need something epic and lyrical, I call upon Sion. And I respect that. That's, even from any person, that's a really good endorsement. There's also endorsements from people I care about significantly less, such as David Mitchell, Juno Diaz, Alberto Manguel. I don't know who you are, but I'm sure you're a trustworthy dude. I also had the intention that this would kind of be all I was doing today, but then I messed up that pretty bad. I have to work for an hour, maybe more. I'm gonna go see my parents, and then I'm going out tonight. I already went out yesterday. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna read for a little bit, and then I am gonna go to work and then go see my parents. And I'll be checking in, and they'll be reading too. I haven't decided my transitions yet. This is probably a no.
That's both in.
Oh my gosh, it's almost 4 p.m. The readathon has been going on
for 8 hours. It's a third of the way over.
A tight 8 hours. I haven't read very much, if I'm being quite honest. I'm at my parents' house. This is my dad.
Hi.
Happy readathon, first of all.
Oh, thank you. And the same to you.
Thanks. What have you been reading today?
Today, today I've been reading The Black Jersey. It's a book that you gave me for Christmas.
I bought it from...
Oh, no, you didn't give it. You lent it to me.
I lent it to you for Tour de France, the other important Christian holiday.
That's very true. It is.
It was advertised on a local indie bookstore's Instagram, and I'm very suggestible, and I saw Tour de France and Murder Mystery, so I was like, yeah, I'm getting that. Because it's important to support local businesses. I am very curious what you think of it, actually.
I like it. I'm about halfway through it at the moment.
Okay.
I can't really tell you why I mean, it's an easy read, which is good. I'm not ready to, intently focus on something complicated.
Oh.
And it helps that, the subject matter is the Tour de France. So
absolutely.
there's a lot of recognizable things in it.
So it's a murder mystery where, following convention, a non-police person is the narrator and the primary mystery solver. He is a cyclist in the Tour de France. He's a domestique.
Right.
He serves the main cyclist on their team to support him and help him win the race. And there's a lot of winky winks and nudges that, like, maybe he should just forget his job and go and try to win. And as this race is unfolding, the Tour de France takes place over 21 days. People are dying, and it becomes clear that these deaths are no accident. There's a murderer, but who could be the one who would do this in the peloton? Do you like the main character? That's an important question.
I do, actually.
You made me crazy.
Really?
I just feel like, considering they chose him to be the mystery solver, he seems like very dumb.
I don't know if I'd call him dumb. He seems to just, given that he used to be in the military police,
Yeah.
he doesn't seem to understand gathering evidence and coming up with this explains how this crime was committed. These clues lead to this person. He's more like, it's got to be him. It's got to be him.
He's kind of just choosing people that he thinks have a motive and just assuming it's them.
Right.
And then, which is an approach. And also, he doesn't seem super intent on like doing the detecting.
No, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it because he's involved in helping his friend win the Tour de France.
He's busy.
Which is his job.
He's busy.
And that is hard work.
Yeah, and tiring, and you can't really think about a lot of things.
No, especially when, you're on the road, you're thinking about, I have to keep out of trouble. I have to keep Steve out of trouble.
Yeah.
I have to stay near the front.
Yeah.
I don't have time to look around and say, okay, who's trying to throw a stick through my spokes?
Just for fingerprints.
Exactly. And he doesn't have access to any of the evidence that the police have collected because the commissioner who's actually put him up to making him the one who's going to solve this crime isn't sharing very much.
Yeah, no one's sharing at all. It was like very bizarre. And so my dad and I are both big fans of the Tour de France, recycling fans, but you don't have to feel intimidated like, oh, I can't read this book because I don't know anything about it. They explain pretty much everything. I think somebody who doesn't really know anything about cycling could follow. Explains like how he became a cyclist, what all is entailed. There's a lot of... For a while I was like, who is the audience of this book that they're assuming you don't know these things, but you would be reading this book? And I guess just a person who likes a good mystery.
Well, yeah, if you're focused solely on, the race, then that's a very limiting audience.
True.
So I think it does help to broaden the appeal, but if you are a fan of the race, you recognize, when they're in the mountains and they're going up the Col de Tourmalet.
Yeah. It's exciting. I got excited. It's not real, but I'm still like, they're going to be
I know where this is.
Yeah, exactly. It's not often that there's a sports book and I'm like, I recognize these things. I know what they're talking about. All right, well, I'm going to let you get back to your book. Thanks for talking to me about it.
Thank you.
Also, thanks for letting me show up and eat your food. Because I was very hungry.
Not a problem.
Help me find the mac and cheese. All right.
Okay.
This is my mom. She made me tea. This is chai from the mountains.
I know, it says High Mountain Chai, but it had all the right ingredients in it, so it had the cardamom and the star anise and everything that I like in chai, and then when I brought it home and smelled it, I was like, yes, this is good chai.
What's in the coconut cream? I already forgot, you just told me.
I took it's cashew cream.
Oh,
you mean the coconut cream that's in your tea? That's just canned coconut cream.
Coconut cream? All right,
yeah,
cool.
and I microwaved it and added it. I double bagged your tea and added it. So
you double bagged it?
So that the cream wouldn't so you could still taste the chai through the cream.
Oh, I don't know anything about tea. This is classy. Mom just offered this to me apropos of nothing, which she always does. And speaking of the Tour de France, there are times when I come over at 6 a.m. and she's like, we don't have any food. Do you want me to make you a lasagna? So Mom is our nurturer.
I am, and I like to see people. I love tea. I like to see people drinking tea.
Happy readathon.
Thank you. I'm enjoying the readathon. I try to read more, but I don't get to read as much as I'd like. And so...
I feel like you read a lot.
I do read a lot, but not as much as
oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. I get that.
And because my biggest fear is I'll get really caught up in a book and then I'll drop everything, including work, and not and
I respect that.
but read. And I love murder mysteries, and so of course, as soon as the murder happens, I really, really want to know who did it, and that's why I tend to read murder mysteries more than anything because it keeps me interested. Usually I can. But
Are you going to read The Black Jersey after Dad's done?
I don't know. Neither one of you.
Cycling.
Neither one of you said you seem that he's distracted. He doesn't use good criminal techniques. They're more.
I don't
It's
think
more
he'll be
about winning the
satisfied.
race. Do you care who is doing the
Yeah.
killings? Is that important?
Yeah.
Or do
I
you care
mean-
more about who's going to win the race?
Well, I think it is more motive based than clue based. So less so that you're trying to.
But
I mean,
does-
you also as the reader don't have access to a lot of clues, so you're also going based on like who would gain, who seems to be behaving in such a way.
So he's not collecting physical evidence, but he's interrogating people. Is he taking the time to
He's
do
the
that?
worst interrogator.
he's
He'll
the
like
worst.
he'll be like,
So
I'm
no,
gonna
I won't be reading this.
I'm gonna get the.
I don't like the hapless detective.
He's not hapless.
It's not hapless. It is very readable.
Okay.
He's
But what are you more interested in? Do you care who's doing these killings? And the
Yeah.
why?
Yes, you care.
Okay.
Well,
yeah,
you, I
well,
don't know.
Then I might read it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
What do you mean me?
I care in some respects because the person who's doing it is ostensibly trying to change the outcome of the race.
Oh, and you know that might be well. You've read it and you have not, so that might be a twist, but
It
probably
might
not.
be. I don't know.
Okay.
But I care who wins the race.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
All right. This should be sponsored by the Black Journal. Well, not really, because we're giving like kind of a lukewarm. Like you could read it if you wanted to.
I probably will read it.
What are
Right.
you reading for the readathon?
What I'm reading for the Readathon is the second.
Second born.
Thank you. The Second Born.
Second beverage. What is the second born?
The Second Born is a book I'm reading on the Kindle, and I have very mixed. I still like my books, so
Yeah.
every time I purchase a book, it's always a big question about whether I should get a Kindle version or a book version, and I have gone back and purchased book versions after doing the Kindle. If I like them enough, I will buy the book version because I haven't quite. It's just not the same, and I do still like the book.
Mom's got a stack of books off camera, and that's what we keep looking at. I feel like very conscious of the fact that I keep looking off camera. That's what I'm looking at, is her stack of like physical copies.
Yes, because there's not. It's so much. Well, anyway.
It's just very. I get it.
But I do appreciate my Kindle. I love having 30, 40 books on tap that I can read at the doctor's office and the dentist's and just do it that way. But like I said, if I like a book enough, I usually go out and buy the hard copy afterwards.
Are you gonna buy Second Born?
I don't know. Second Born is not a murder mystery. It's one of those futuristic. It takes place. The whole concept of Second Born is most society. You're only allowed 2 children. So your firstborn gets all the rights. They go on to run the clans. They get all the power. And the secondborn is expected to go into the military or into service, and they're supposed to support the firstborn.
That's right.
And yeah,
I'm the firstborn, so
because
that's
she's
right.
the firstborn. She's down with that. But so there's different. There's 7 clans. One's the swords, and they tend to be the fighters, and then there's the stars, and I can't remember the other. There's the stones. So every clan has their own area of expertise. Some science based, some military based. But there's this premise that started pretty early on that took me a while. I just didn't see it, but I'm about halfway through, because there's all these references. Her mother, so it's a female, and the firstborn is her brother.
Okay.
So the secondborn, she's a female, and she's very dedicated and protective, and she loves her brother. But there's all these references, both to her specifically and just in society, about how you can't trust the secondborns, and I just really couldn't understand why. But they keep bringing it up, and apparently a lot of the secondborns try to kill the firstborns, because as soon as they kill the firstborns,
They're the
they
de facto
become the
firstborn.
firstborn. So there's even a character in there who did kill his older brother, and everybody knows he did, but they can't do anything about it because now he's firstborn, and even his parents, he gets everything.
That's a cool crime.
Yes, but they kind of ostracized. He went into the job that his family goes into, but they put him in this place that's not very friendly, not very nice, very low level, and therefore he is, because it's just interesting because they don't like the fact that he killed his older brother. They don't even particularly like him, but nobody says or does anything. And so she keeps being, in the main character, they keep questioning her loyalty, which, like I said, I didn't understand, but apparently killing the firstborn is something that you have to fear. And so her mother is convinced that she will turn on her brother and kill him.
Do all families have 2 children?
Yes,
There's just this constant tension.
They have at least 2 children, and then there's
at least 2.
No, they must have only 2. So then there's this whole thirdborn where you're not allowed, and if they find out you're thirdborn, you get. So some people, when they are thirdborn, they try to pass themselves off as secondborn. And there's this group called the census, because they take the census, and they will, if they suspect you of being a thirdborn, they'll interrogate you and try to determine if you truly are a second or thirdborn, because there's not supposed to be any thirdborns. It upsets the nature. However, if a firstborn dies, the secondborn becomes the firstborn, and then you can have a third child because you no longer have the first.
Secondborn the second.
And that's another plot point to this book, is because the mother is too old to have a third child, and therefore she's freaking out about her daughter. And it's kind of sad because she treats her daughter like an enemy, and she wants her dead so that her son, she'll feel safe about her son. It's interesting, and I'm not sure. Part of me doesn't get it. Part of me, this whole firstborn, secondborn thing, but it's the more I read it and aspects of the culture get revealed, I'm beginning to see the world, their world. And because I was like, who cares if you're firstborn versus secondborn, really? But there's a huge difference. So it's interesting.
So it's kind of like Victorian era, like a Jane Austen novel, but sort of irrespective of gender. Like
right, there's lots of rules, lots of cultures, lots of everybody assumes all these things about how things are supposed to work, and yet there's all these things that work behind this. There's also a revolution. The secondborns are trying to change.
Are both her parents firstborns?
Yes, and she mentions her father. Her father is kind of out of the picture. And I don't know how the whole marriage thing works, how easy it is to divorce and get remarried, how that counts. But there is a group of secondborns that are trying to change. They don't want to get rid of the firstborns. They just want to change the whole structure so that they're not treated as second-class citizens just because they're second-born. So it's good. I have to say it's good, and the premise is interesting, and she's supporting it well. The more I read it, the more I understand it. It was a little hard to care at first, but now I understand the dangers of saying something or doing something versus saying or doing something else.
How'd you find out about it?
It was because we belong to Amazon Prime. They send us 5 to 6 books, Kindle version, and you get to pick a free book every month. And this was one of the ones we picked last month or the month before. I can't remember.
Oh, has Dad read it?
No. No, but I did tell him it was good, and he's busy reading other things, but it is worth so far it's worth reading.
Okay. Well, I'll be curious to see what you think when it's over.
Yeah, so will I.
You're the thirdborn.
I'm the third. I'm the fourthborn.
You're the fourthborn.
I'm the fourthborn. So I wouldn't even. Yeah, I wouldn't even be allowed to show my face outside. I have to go.
Live in a bog.
Yep. I couldn't register anywhere.
That's fine.
You
can come stay with me.
Of course you're fine with this. You're the firstborn.
Oh, yeah.
And your father is the thirdborn. Okay, so he's in trouble too. But right. You'd love this book.
That's right. Finally. All right. Well, I'll let you get back to your book.
Thank you.
And thanks for my tea.
I'm glad you like it. I can't believe you drink it without sugar, but
it's because I'm a firstborn, I deserve
You're sweet enough. That's what it is.
My parents are very generous, and they gave me such sundries as strawberry jam and put in my jacket pocket apples, 3 of them. I love apples. They love me. I don't know why I just turned the camera that way, but I hope you enjoyed that greenery. Time to drive. I did a bad job vlogging last night, as in, didn't even do it. I went out with my friends and I was already running late. Like, we were supposed to meet up at 6 and it was 8 o'clock, 2 hours later. So then I had too much fun with them and just came back and went right to sleep. But I did finish The Whispering Muse. So the speaker of the book is this very boorish, bourgeois Icelander. It takes place in 1949, a few years, yeah, they say 4 years after World War II ended, and he is on a very swank steamship with the second mate, who is the mythical individual Canius, and every evening Canius tells part of the story of the Argonauts' break when they were in the town of Lemnos, which was populated entirely by women because they killed all their men. Complicated. And the story that is being told does not affect our narrator whatsoever. He thinks it's kind of a bunch of malarkey. He doesn't understand why everyone is so fixated on it. He's completely unmoved by poetry, and it's kind of funny that Sion, who does everything so beautifully and lyrically and is a very evocative and individualist speaker and writer, has to write from the point of view of this man who, if anything is going to be described at all, it's going to be a cliche. And for the most part, he's fixated on all the wrong things, so to speak. He interprets everything incorrectly. It's kind of hard to get a beat on what's going on with everybody else because he just is not good at understanding or guessing everyone's motivation for doing anything, despite his own seeming belief that he is excellent at it. It's funny at times, but sometimes frustrating. Like, I read Sion because I think he's a genius, and I felt like part of it was the writing exercise where he's like, I wonder if I were a really lame person who had no interesting thoughts, what would that be like? I know that he is a lover of satire, and this was simultaneously an effective satire of this very bourgeois means of thinking, and also this very clever, everything is overlapping, like the story of Lemnos. There are, within the story, references even to Christianity and Nordic mythology, stories within stories, and it's intriguing because obviously the currency of culture is often our stories, despite the main character thinking the currency of culture is that Nordic people eat a lot of fish. It's something he really loves to talk about, but it's stories, the way we tell stories and the way we understand stories, and it is fascinating to see everything from disparate cultures get woven together. And though this book takes place at the very onset of like the peace that followed World War II, it was actually written maybe 10 years ago. So it kind of makes me think not as much has changed as I would like it to. There's still a lot of latent fascism, and I don't know, it definitely left me with a lot to think about. And maybe that's the measure of a successful book, that I think I'm going to be thinking about this for a very long time. I am the narrator of that story where I'm like holding the book way off camera, just like how all the interesting human interaction is happening way off screen, so to speak, in the narration. So that was my readathon. I only read one book. Whoops, I meant to read at least two. I'm okay with it. I'm probably gonna do a lot more reading today, actually, because it's rainy out. But that was my Dewey Readathon. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love talking to my friends about what they are reading during the 24 hours. My beautiful angel, Kylie, who lives far away from me in Minneapolis, I just like knowing that she's reading and we check in with one another throughout the day. She's the one who first told me about this readathon some years ago, so it makes me feel a special connection to her, which I guess is silly because we already talk about what books we're reading, but it's not silly. Anyway, so tell me if you participated in the readathon, what you read, if you read Sion, if you read The Whispering Muse, and what you thought about it. I feel like this is also a vlog of 3 separate people talking about books that they had kind of mixed reactions to, and maybe that's not going to be very compelling for a viewer. But thanks if you made it all the way through to the end, and have a great day. Drink plenty of water. Read books.